Oh, that's
Right.
good.
Tell me about Feel Great Coaching, mate. Go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, cool. So Feel Great Coaching. It's been an evolution. So I'll go that way back, eh? When I first started it, it was like 4 years ago. I started it. I started it kind of as a side gig, alongside my other job, which was like behavioral change management in like corporations. And I was CrossFit coaching, and people just naturally kind of like asked, "Oh, can you help me with nutrition?" And I was like, "Ah," and I was really interested in it, so I went and studied it, and then took on one client, as like a test client, as you do, and yeah, sort of it just built from there. Like then he got good results, and then a couple more people kind of came on, and yeah, it was like word of mouth for ages. And that kind of went on for a while. Like I did it alongside my kind of consulting job, and then about 2 years ago now, I just decided to go all in and was like, right, it's time. I love this. It was like my other job was amazing. Like I liked my job. Sorry, my dog's there if you can hear
It's
him.
all right.
My other job was cool, but it didn't quite have like the really good like feel good like fulfillment factor that you get from really helping people like change their freaking life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, how do I do this? Yeah, and I worked with a business mentor, which was really helpful. And he kind of helped me set up my business in a way that worked for me. Like the idea was kind of work less, but like help more people if that's
Mm-hmm.
possible. Yeah, and since then, really cool. So yeah, I guess like people come to me, it's an interesting one. People come to me for weight loss, but that's like this much of it. It's like they think they want weight loss, but actually what they want is like to feel awesome, feel confident in themselves, like love their body. And then actually like through the journey, it's actually less about the weight loss and more about like finding themselves and what they enjoy and how they want to live their life. But it's a really interesting one because you market it. It's like, you give them what they think, what they
Mm-hmm.
want, and then like, yeah, but sell them what they want, give them what they need. And I mean, I tell people that openly. I'm very open about that. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, you want like weight loss, like, and everyone thinks they want that. And then there's like this magical moment where like, like, wow, there's more to life than how much I weigh. I'm like, oh, who knew? So it's just really cool, and it's so rewarding seeing people on that journey and have that kind of magical moment where they're like, wow, I'm more than this. And then they realize like there's so much opportunity that they have in their life that they can expand themselves more than like what I look like. It's like, oh, like people change their jobs, careers, like everything. And it's, yeah, super cool. So yeah, at the moment I have a coach who works for me. So a coach, and then I have a VA. So there's three of us in my huge company.
Hey, you.
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And so my coach, she is actually in the States. So half of my clients are in the US and half are here, I'd say. Which is pretty cool. So it's fun with like time zones and stuff. But yeah, you get quite a different slant on like perspectives and stuff just from different like upbringings and like social norms and conditioning and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the idea is that I want to help people feel their best, whatever that is for them. So we don't kind of have like a cookie cutter one size fits all. It's like very personalized. It's like, okay, like you don't like doing that, don't do that, then what works for you? Helping people like figure it out for themselves, but being that like guide for them. Yeah, but we want to the idea is bring more coaches on in the future to help more people, to have more impact. So just kind of setting up some stuff to help really make that awesome. And we've got a client app, which is super cool, and you can do some really cool stuff in there. Like we do strength training programs in there as well. So often people, when they've done their like nutrition bit, they're like, okay, I'm pretty good with this. Like they're like, oh, I want to get strong now. I'm like, yes. And like that's my goal, is like to get people really strong, because a lot of people are still, especially females, are still very like scared or just like don't know about weightlifting or just like lifting weights. And their idea of lifting weights is like, oh, I go to the gym and lift a 2-kilo dumbbell. I'm like, it's not actually a weight. Like I'm like, go and lift something fucking heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pretty cool, very grateful to do what I do. Yeah,
That's
pretty,
that's awesome. Like
yeah.
yeah, it's really cool they hear someone grow something from a passion and a little side, business or side hustle, whatever you want to call it, into like the main thing, and just go, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna dive balls deep and then let's see what happens. And that's really cool. And being able to like branch out like cross continental too, and also go over to America is like proper wicked. Do you train more, or do you have more clients that are males or females, or is it like an even split?
Nah, it's primarily females.
Yeah.
I have 2 male clients, but yeah, I definitely target myself, like market myself at females. The males that I've had have just been because they kind of know me personally, or have heard of me through someone. So, but very much females. Like our kind of thing is like, we're like the anti-diet coaching. So many females have done, and probably males too, but it's just, we just kind of target females more because it's kind of got that really emotional connection with, weight loss and all of that sort of stuff, and our body and body confidence. Males do too, but it's different language you use with them. Yeah, but in terms of like females, it's like, if they love themselves and their body, like they can just do so much more. So it's kind of just helping them figure out what that means for them, whether that's weight loss, getting stronger, or whatever. And often it's like dealing with the crazy stuff in their head. Like that's it. Helping them work through thoughts. It's a lot of like unlearning is something we talk about, because we've kind of been conditioned that to have the body you want, this is what society tells you, or social media at least, have the body you want, you have to like starve yourself, do these crazy things, it has to be really restrictive. And so we're kind of really anti that. We're like, okay, we don't want to put any rules, restriction. Like, how can we add to your life, make it better, like make it you grow as a person, as opposed to like, you can't have this, you can't do this, da 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 da, because instantly you're going to like rebel against that. And I think kind of everything like the weight loss industry is built on restriction. So we're more about like expansive and better and bigger, and how can you just make yourself like bigger and better.
I think that's
Right.
one of the things that like really like sort of resonated with me with when I read the anti-dieting culture. I was like, that's
Yeah.
fucking brilliant. That's absolutely spot on. And I remember a quote I either read or heard or whatever. This was fucking years ago, of like, if anything requires willpower, it's only a matter of time before you break.
Yes,
And
exactly.
maybe a male, I'm like, nah, come on, that's a challenge, I'll be fine, and but the thing is, with whether it's take you 2 weeks or whether it's going to take you like 5 years, like eventually if you're just relying on willpower all the time, like you will end up cracking, and then you'll just swing the other way, right? Because human beings are usually dumb. So we go from like super restrictive to then like, oh my god, I've just gained 50 kilos because I've just gone hard.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
I'm interested in like the female perspective. You know how you get the um pressures and the emotional tie to all that. What would some of those be from a female perspective?
Like the emotional things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like social conditioning, social media, it's all in our face. It's like you have to, should, there's a lot of shoulds involved, I'd
Yeah.
say. Like anything, like I say to my clients, if a should is coming up, you should question why you feel you do that. But from an emotional perspective, it's like we're conditioned that to look a certain way is like your value as a person, which is so ridiculous. Like you're better when you're looking, leaner or whatever. And like, maybe people will lose weight and go, oh, wow, you're looking really good. And so you get this praise that almost comes from, looking a certain way. But it's like, let's actually not comment on how someone looks, whether it's big or small or whatever. It's actually like, are you a good person? Like, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you doing things that like light you up? And that's where a lot of it comes from. It's like especially females tend to put themselves last. That's what I see with a lot of my clients, especially like if they're a mum or something. A lot of mums, like it's like they're the bottom of kind of the, like their kids come first, their family comes first, their partner. And maybe at the end of the day, if they have any energy or time left, they can do some stuff with themselves. And a little bit of it is that, they've been conditioned that that's their role to kind of take over, look after the house, look after the kids. And if there's anything left, they can do that. But it's like, no, actually, put yourself first. So that's like a big message we have within our coaching. It's like, when you put yourself first, everything else is better. Like everything, your relationship with your kids, your family, your partner, yourself, you're going to have more energy and everything to show up in the world and do the things that are important to you. So that's a really big one of it. There's heaps. It's a very emotional thing, the body and how we view ourselves, and that we're not good enough unless we're wearing a certain size or whatever, looking a certain way, like bikini ready, or it's so much pressure, and like it's everywhere. So it's almost like redefining what your version of success looks like for you, whether that's in your body, your life, or whatever.
Where do you think the shoulds come from? Do you think it's like female to female, or do you think it's male to female?
It's definitely female to female.
Really?
It's for sure. Like, I think females think they're doing it for males, but they're actually doing it for themselves and other females. Females are so judgy, but they're also the ones who, scroll through social media or look at people at the gym and go, oh, wow, she did that, or like, la, la. Guys are chill, and they it's different, but it's a guy often I don't feel would comment as much on a female's body as a female would. I think we're a lot harder on ourselves than we think that males would be. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the whole something that baffles me, maybe because I don't know, I'm not the smartest of individuals, but of like, I don't understand why we can't live in a society where if someone looks good, you can just be like, hey, you look good today. And that's it. Not because you're a certain size, not because of whatever. It's just like, hey, I like your shoes, or you look good, or nice hair, or whatever. It's just like, and it's kind of like it's a full stop at the end of the sentence. It's not a passive aggressive comment. It's not like I'm trying to get one over on you or anything like that. And I don't understand why human beings like to throw those sly little jabs. It's just like, if someone looks good, like, hey, you look good. That's it. Have a good day.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, we're very visual creatures, right? Like, we're drawn to things that look nice. Like, there's, and especially social media, there's stuff everywhere, like bombarding us with like, what we should look like, or cool new clothes or whatever. So it's like, that's how we see value. It's rightly or wrongly, but we're conditioned for that. But I agree. It would be awesome if you could just kind of say something like that and there wasn't like an underlying, like, oh, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. You're like, well, nothing. You know what I mean?
Like you look good. Like,
yeah.
And that doesn't even have to be like, like you say, like in your body or whatever. It could just be like, oh, you look, like, could be glowing, like,
exactly.
Someone's happy, like their eyes are happy, their skin is shining, like all of that sort of stuff. Like, just be like, oh, you look good today.
Okay. When someone's confident and clearly in a good place mentally, and just like walking around, it doesn't matter what they're wearing, it doesn't matter their size or anything like that. Like that looks good on people, and it's when someone says like a smile looks good on people.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. And I think that's really important. And that's something, we try and help my clients with, during their journey, is like figuring out what that is for them. There's some reason where they feel they're not enough in themselves and they want to change. So it's like, what is that change? The easy answer is, I want to lose weight. For some reason, it just seems to be. That's obviously the magical answer. But then, like I said, as they go through the journey, it's actually like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this job. Maybe I don't want to be friends with these people. Maybe I don't like the way that whatever my family speaks to me. Like, there's so many, components that make it up. It's not just about the physical, it's about the emotional, spiritual, all of that, and helping them figure that out for themselves. So powerful, but also very complex in the same time.
It's funny how we get into coaching, right? And you learn so much about A&P, biomechanics, like movement, class management, attitude and presence, like then the nutrition side and all that type of stuff. And then you become a counselor.
Yes.
And you're like, oh shit.
So much. Yeah. Like, do you know what it is? Like, majority of my job is like, yes, there's the nutrition and follow your habits and like, do your training and all that great stuff. But the big part of it is like, okay, and while you're doing all that, let's deal with what's going on in your head while you're going through that journey. And that's, people don't realize that, It's like, there's who you are and there's how you think about who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the struggle is, because something isn't aligned with where you want to be, because you view yourself in a different way of like maybe how it actually is. I don't know. So
yeah, like all these like training qualifications and coaching qualifications, like in my opinion, should have like sports psychology, it should have counseling, it should have CBT, like it should have all these things as like a base. All right, you need to know something about everything, simply because people are different, and you will eventually somewhere down the line come across someone from a very strange upbringing or a different experience, and it will throw you a curveball. And if you're super set in one mindset, then you're not going to be able to help that person.
yeah. And I think, yeah, that's an interesting one, because coaches typically get into coaching because they're maybe good at or enjoy a thing. Maybe it's, you know, weightlifting or nutrition or whatever, CrossFit. Yet the thing that, you know, it's people. That's what you have to understand. It's people, it's their behaviors, it's how they think, it's their mindset. And so, like for me, one of the reasons that I did start getting into nutrition coaching is that I had a nutrition coach years ago. I worked with Working Against Gravity when I was like kind of doing CrossFit and wanted some help, and they taught me about macros. But there was a key component missing, and that was the behavioral side, and like why we think what we think and how to actually help someone move through a behavior change. They were just kind of like, here's your macros, which was great because I was like athlete mind, right? I was like, yeah, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Tick.
Yep.
That's not most people. Most people, you know, are a bit more like fluid than that. You know, I was very set on my goals and that was easy. But so that's part of the reason I started Feel Great Coaching, is like, wow, if you actually need to understand the person. And so my background in behavioral change management was like, there's this huge component missing from a lot of coaching out there, or nutrition coaching that I could see. There was a lot of coaches who are going, here's your macros, every week you check in and they up them 10 carbs or down, you know, whatever. And I'm like, well, what about me and how I feel? Because that's the big bit. And people just want someone who cares and is invested in them and is going to help them and truly like, yeah, cares about them.
So what would you say would be like the biggest hole, coming from the background that you have with your main hustle before you kind of sacked that one off and made the coaching the main jobby? What would you say is like the big hole that's missing
In nutrition coaching? Yeah, I mean, definitely that, like behavioral change, like psychology. So a lot around like the psychology of the brain. So I've done a lot in terms of, you know, like why we're drawn to certain things, like dopamine and, you know, like all those kind of neurotransmitters and how they affect our emotions, our behaviors. There are coaches that do it, like I'm not the only one, of course, but there are some really good coaches out there who do this kind of more whole person kind of coaching, not life coaches. You still have to have the nutrition like background and stuff, but I think, you know, if you are thinking about working with a nutrition coach, ask them like how they work with their clients. Like, what does a check-in process look like, for example? Like, how much contact can you have with them? Because I know a lot out there is very transactional. It's like, do this. And so once again, it's that restriction, or it's rules, and it's putting you in this certain box. And it's like, what happens if my life moves outside that box? I haven't got the tools and the habits and the behaviors to be able to work without this, you know, whether it's counting macros, whether it's being on a meal plan or whatever. It's like, I haven't actually set up really good habits and behaviors to help me if my life changes. Versus like my clients, I know that whatever they're going to go through, even when they're finished working with me, they've got all those habits and behaviors, the baseline kind of fundamentals that work for them. And, you know, unless they have like a massive, crazy life change, they're going to be able to adapt to work with that. So I think, yeah, the big hole is definitely around that behavioral psychology and how we work as humans. Because ultimately, yes, there's nutrition, but the human, you've got to coach the human. And that's the biggest thing in any coaching, you know, nutrition, weightlifting, CrossFit, anything.
That's it. Like I got in terms of the coaching side, I got a saying that we teach the exercise, or we teach the movement, but we coach the individual.
Yeah.
And we are in the business of people. Like, we come into it and we think, oh yeah, I'm going to get in the business of fitness because I love nutrition, I love CrossFit or whatever. Like, I love sport. I'm going to make some freak athletes. And you're like, listen, like, you know, a very small percentage of people become a professional athlete, and then even smaller actually do anything with that. You know, most professional athletes, you never know who they are because they kind of just cruise, they make some money, they retire, they have a great life. Most people you're going to deal with are those that just like, they want to get in the gym, they want to leave the gym, and they want to be a better person because they came into the gym. And I'm like, all right, well, you're going to have to deal with people now, and people are fucking hard animals to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point around like athletes. I think a lot of people, like within fitness, you know, whether it's nutrition or coaching, whatever, will probably go like, so many people want to target the athletes, right? They want to go, I want to coach athletes, but athletes, like you say, well, whatever your definition of athletes are, but if we're talking like professional athletes and, you know, top tier kind of athletes, that's such a small percentage of the world. So I think, you know, like you're more normal person, your general population, your mum, your dad who's coming into the gym, like you say, they're working out because they, you know, want to be healthy and they want to eat well for their life and be around longer for their kids or whatever. That's who you've got to deal with. And like you say, people are complicated.
Yep.
And like you say, all different upbringings and, you know, points of reference and social conditioning and all of that plays into it. Like different traumas that they've been through in their lifetime, and that affects everything. And trauma is a really big one, and it's a hard one to touch on with clients initially, because you really have to build that kind of trust relationship, and they also have to build that within themselves to have the confidence to actually talk about that and have that connection to like the trauma as to their actions, because a lot of people don't see that. They're just, it's almost like so suppressed that they don't see the impact that it's kind of having on their life. But when they do, it's like painful to bring up, but like, wow, the, you know, change in them and the evolution of them as a human is like huge.
That is absolutely enormous. And like trauma is like a blanket statement. It comes from like many different sources, right? But like what like barriers do you see where you kind of look at it and you're like, okay, cool, we need to go dig in a little bit deeper to kind of unravel that? What barriers do you usually see?
Oh man, so many. Like a lot of it, this is really kind of, so a lot of it is that ownership for people's actions is a really big one. And that's really hard to say, because I don't want to, if any of my clients were to listen to this, I don't want to be like, oh, you're not taking responsibility. But people want to have an answer for something not working that's not themselves. And that is so hard. So I guess like as a coach, when you see that, it's just kind of helping, it's questioning, it's helping them to come to that outcome themselves. Like you can't do it for them. And that's what's so hard. Even if you can see it, you can see the connection, they have to realize it themselves, or it will never, you know, it will never be worked through in the way that is going to actually be helpful. Because if I sit here and go, hey, wow, like I can see you've got this problem, you're like, oh, and you get quite resistant. So like the energy is very different than you going, wow. Like if I ask you a question and you're like, oh man, and then you kind of make that connection, it's just so much more powerful. So yeah, like that's the probably big barrier, is them figuring it out for themselves, and it's at a time that they're ready to. So people often, for example, when people sign up with me, they do an initial 6 months as a minimum for coaching, because that's just what I've seen, how long it takes to see like really good change. I'd love if people stay with me for a minimum of a year, but that scares the shit out of people. So anyway, they have an idea in their head of, okay, it's going to take this long. And sometimes it takes longer because they're not quite at a place where they're ready to go there. So that's hard, because they've put like a barrier on themselves of like, oh, I'm not there yet. Why is it taking longer? And then once again, not taking responsibility of it. Oh, it's obviously your fault because you said it would take 6 months. You know, and so once again, it's that responsibility and ownership of like everything in your life is down to you and your choices and your actions. Someone can help guide you and help you work through it, yes, but like ultimately it's you, it's your thoughts, your actions. And so helping them realize that, and once they realize that, it's so powerful, because then they have the confidence to go, wow, I can actually change the trajectory of my life, because they have that power. But previously it's like, oh, I can't do it because obviously my body's broken, my hormones are screwed, like I've had kids, whatever that, something that's not them, like put it on something else. And that, yeah, like once you see clients go through that change and own it, you're like, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, ownership is a really powerful tool, and it's also really beautiful to see, right? And see someone like the penny drop in someone's mind and be like, oh shit, like I actually have the capability to do whatever the fuck I want to do. I just need to like own it and own the bad stuff too, the quote unquote bad stuff, because what does that
Yeah.
even mean? Like good and evil is just down to perception. So it's like own every single part of you, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, whatever it is, and be like, okay, well, this is where I am because of the actions I've taken to get here. If I wanted this to change, I would need to change those actions, like Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over
Yes.
again and expecting different results. Yeah,
Mhm.
like you kind of look at the way you live your life, because we're in a rat race, right? You kind of do whatever, and you're watching mainstream media, which is clearly biased, or you knock around with the same types of people that kind of go out and drink all the time or whatever. You kind of fall into these ruts, and then you're doing the same thing and expecting that you're going to get somewhere new. I was like, you're by definition insane. Like,
Exactly.
oh, okay, what do I need to do? I don't know, something different,
Yeah.
change it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you can't go around telling people that they're insane, but
As a counterpoint, though, I do think everyone is mental. Like,
oh yeah, we all are in our own special way. So it's
mhm,
like figuring out your own mental and working with it. Like,
mhm.
I know I'm crazy and I have no problem with that. But it's like as soon as you put like a negative definition on that, like, oh, I'm so crazy, like, and then it's like a bad thing. It's like, no, I'm crazy and it's awesome.
Mm,
And just figuring that out and like what is your superpower and using that to like, change your life in a way that works for you.
I like that. What is your superpower? I like that.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
was like
that's a
always,
really cool saying.
yes. I do that a lot with my clients. And a lot of people don't know their superpower. Do you know
Mm.
your superpower? What's your superpower? Go.
Uh I I'm a very critical thinker.
Okay.
Hence I'm a writer, you see. I write poetry and that. So I'm able to sit down and think about things from a different perspective, and also have the humility to have a conversation with someone else and be like, well, what's your perspective? And I never
Mm,
really think I'm right, like it's just how I perceive things, and that doesn't mean it's necessarily right. So I don't know, maybe critical thinking,
yeah. Cool.
maybe.
Mm, that's good. That's a good superpower.
What would yours be?
Yeah. So mine is that I can always relate to anyone. I think that's
Mm,
mine. Like I don't know, I haven't met anyone in the world yet that I haven't kind of connected with in a way. Um,
so like
yeah.
empathy.
Yeah. But the
Mm,
flip side of that superpower is I take on people's emotions.
yeah,
And so, yeah.
yeah,
Which is like probably quite normal in coaching space, right? Like, so I've had to learn to like really protect my energy because of that. Like it's a superpower, but with every superpower, there's kind of the other side of it. So
hmm
once you know your superpower, you know your weaknesses, so you can like work with that. So, set your life up in a way that actually helps you, do that superpower.
with great power comes with great responsibility, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Mm,
true. I do think empathy is a vital key to coaching. It's a
mm,
it's a pillar that things need to be built upon. Like if you can't empathize with the people in front of you or the people you're working with, like there's going to be an elephant in the room you're not going to address. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be 80% there, and there's going to be the last 20% that you just can't like deal
yeah.
with people. And like we said, like you're in the business of people, you need to be able to relate to them, like feel their emotion and their pain. But yes, on the flip side, that is a really important point. We're just like you got to take yourself out of that sometimes. Like, otherwise you're going through someone else's struggle and you're not even in that, which is not fair for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's an interesting one because like a lot of coaches probably feel this, but having the confidence as a coach to like call out your clients on certain things in a way that's going to help them change. So I feel like there's a lot of coaches who can see certain things in their clients, but maybe don't have the confidence to kind of speak up and help point that out. But it's actually that is part of your job to help them grow and change, is to, whether you point it out or whether you question in a way that helps them figure it out. That's like the big job as a coach. And that is hard because you could just sit there and go, oh yeah, they're okay, they're going to be fine. But it's like, oh no, there's something more here. And it's our role to really pull that out and help them.
Something that really used to screw me up when I first started coaching years and years ago was you can't save them all.
Yes. Oh, that's so hard.
And you'd be like grasping just to try and like, listen, like I can legitimately help. I'll do it for free, no problem. Like, let me just help you, blah, blah, blah. And they just drain the shit out of you. And you're just like, well, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. So that's actually such an important point. So before I had like my coaching mentor, I would work with anyone, right? Like they'd come to me and I'd be like, yeah, because we can help anyone. We're coaches, like, yeah, someone needs nutrition help, I can definitely help you. Now I'm a lot more selective on who I work with. I don't just work with anyone. Like you have to apply to work with me. So if I'm going to give my energy to you, I want to receive some back. It's a reciprocal. Like, yes, they're paying me money, but like it's an energetic exchange as well. And if I'm not getting lit up from like conversations with my clients, it's like, oh, sorry, like you seem great. And I'll refer on. I'll be like, hey, like totally, like, see where you want to go. Like I've got another coach who might be a better fit for you. And generally there's no hard blood, but it's like, it's hard when you're building a business, right? Because you're like, oh, I'll take everyone. But it's like, no, because that is not a sustainable business model. Because you will burn yourself out, drain yourself. And yeah, it is. It's an energetic exchange. And those people will just take. Not meaning to, but they will. They'll drain you and you'll be done.
Yeah, man. So, like I've been there, and I'm sure you've been there to it too, where I've literally handed money back into people's hands, and I needed that money. Like I needed that money to pay food. Like I didn't know how I was gonna eat. You know what I mean? But I'm like, listen, I can't work with you. Like we do not gel. Blah blah blah. And I'm a guy that'll tell you straight. And you're not the type of person that enjoys that. So I'm like, listen, here's your money back. See you later. I'll figure it out how I'm gonna eat the next week.
Yeah. It's a hard one. We used to call them energy vampires. So like people who suck your energy. And so every time I'm on a call with a client, like a potential new client, it's like, is this a fun conversation? Like you should feel, lifted up from it. Like, wow, I'm so excited to help this person. Like some people will get on these calls and just like, oh, it's so hard, poor me. And you're like, oh, but I want to help you, but like, oh, is it worth it? So there is that. Some you still can help. You just have to think about like really clearly what your boundaries are to be able to protect yourself within that.
And it also like goes across spectrum, so from business also to your personal life too, right? And I'm sure like you speak to people, it's exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is legitimately one of the hardest things to go through, is to like analyze your inner circle. So I'm talking like rate small, like the people that you would like go to battle for, not knowing what for. You know what I mean? You're just like, all right, I'll go to war for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, are they draining me, or are they like meeting me halfway? You know what I mean? That's hard.
It is hard. Yep. And it's like, how do you, if you kind of figure out that like, wow, there's someone who isn't kind of lifting me up in the way I lift them up, it's like, how do you have that conversation? Is it a conversation? Do you naturally let it drift? I don't have the answer for that.
What do you do?
Yeah. Oh, I don't have the answer.
But it's all personalized, right? It's like individual.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
So I guess having been through this myself, like I've had a couple of times like recently, like with friends who just kind of realized like I was kind of putting in more than I was getting out.
Yep.
And it's like, is it worth a conversation? And I decided no. I was like, let's just see how it plays out. And I just didn't really invest too much of myself into it. So I wasn't giving as much. And it just like, let's see how it goes. And one of the friends is actually like, it's really good. Interestingly, you know, like they come back. We'll still see. It's still on the fence. I'm just like protective of my energy with that in terms of how much I give. When I'm there, I'm fully present, but it's kind of like, still, we'll see. And it is just that it's protection of energy, having kind of really clear boundaries, and then, you know, life will figure itself out and it will drift if it needs to, and that's okay.
I'm very similar. Like if I know for a fact I would give all of myself to do shit, like I'm very much, I live through passion, you know what I mean? Like we clearly love what we do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I will go so fucking hard. And the same in my personal life too. It's like, all right, if we're mates, like we're mates. It's family. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you're not gonna meet me at that line, I'll cut off and I'll just kind of do my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll just kind of shut down. And it's funny because like I don't know how many times it's happened. People turn around and be like, "Oh, you don't do this for me. You don't do that." Blah blah blah. It's like, no, motherfucker, because you don't do it for me. So I ain't,
Yeah.
I ain't wiping your ass, mate. I'm just doing my
Yeah.
thing.
It's like, here's a really good thing I always think about. And this goes for friendships, relationships, like coaching, whatever. It's like, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no.
Ooh.
Yeah. I can't remember where I heard that, but like, you know, like you hear people in relationships and they'll be talking about like, oh, I don't know, like I'm feeling a bit. I'm like, if it's not a fuck yes, like get rid of that shit. You want like that stuff in your life that just like lifts you up, like energizes you, like you love doing. And same goes for your job. Like, oh, I see so many people who just like suck their soul in their jobs. And I'm like, why? You only get one life. Do things you love.
And this is where the internet's a beautiful thing, right? So people can connect like all over the world that will pour into your cup and you'll pour into their cup. So it's like a let's fucking go, let's do this type stuff. Like that rings a bell. Like I just I sent a message to someone I had a conversation with on the podcast fucking months ago.
Yeah.
Like she just came out of an injury or whatever. Anyway, we kind of chatted for like 5 minutes. And then the last thing was like, let's fucking go. It was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go. You know, you do your shit, I'll do my shit. Let's go. And it's like, yeah, that's so true. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no.
Yeah. I love that. That's the way we should live our lives.
Oh yeah.
Too many people are stuck in, like you say, the rat race of whatever. They should do this. They trying to like pursue these crazy views of success that maybe aren't even theirs, and then are unhappy for it. Ugh. Ugh.
Have
Yucky energy.
have you ever I don't know, have you ever struggled mentally? That's
Yeah.
a personal question, but you know,
Yeah,
you
that's
can tell me to
okay.
fuck off.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Very interesting, quite topical right now. Um, so I've just like had this like shoulder injury,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't realize kind of how much like physical activity was like so important for my mental health. I was still training through it, but obviously not to the like intensity weights and stuff that I was before. And so, yeah, I got this really low point, like,
Yeah.
holy shit. I was just like, wow. And then it's really hard because you've got clients and you have to, you know, your emotional energy that goes with that. And when you're at a place where you can't really even kind of look after yourself, how can you kind of help clients? So, yeah, that's been an interesting journey for me. And it's really flipped how I view my training. Like now that I'm coming out of it, it's like fine, I can talk about it, but like holy shit, I was in a hole.
Mm-hmm.
And it just has really changed my view of why I train. Because I always thought I trained, yeah, because it was fun and like I like doing it. But now I was like, wow, there's that, but it's actually like I'm a completely different person if I don't train.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that I wasn't training, it was just the intensity. So when I'm thinking about like the things that I prioritize in my life, it's like I I'm doing it for a bigger why, like not just going because it's fun and I get to do cool things. It's like actually like the chemicals within my brain are different if I don't train. So when I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered, and because I'm not competing or anything, there's no big drive there. It's like, oh wow, no, you need to go or you just will be a different person. And same with like eating nutritious food and stuff. Like it's all connected. I found like when I wasn't training hard, my nutrition wasn't as good. And then obviously that affects everything. And wow. And then it just made it all the more powerful for what it is that I do with my clients. Because I was like, wow, I've just been doing this on autopilot for so long, for so many years in my life. I forgot how good, like when you feel really good, you forget how crap you can feel. And that's where a lot of people are. So it was really hard for me, but it was also probably really powerful for like what I do with my clients, because it just like showed me the real value in it. Because some people probably are here, and like if I can help them through training and nutrition and all these great things to get to here and feel amazing every day, like wow, that's so much more than physical health. And so yeah,
And now you can
yeah,
also
just
empathize with that too, right?
yeah. I think I've just always done it, having, like I was a competitive swimmer and then I got into CrossFit. So I've always done training, but it's always had that competitive aspect. So that kind of kept me going. And then it wasn't until that I kind of didn't do it at quite an intense level that I was like, oh, wow, it was that makes me not makes me who I am, but like gives me the energy for life and eating well and all of these great things. Like I knew it was good, but I kind of forgot how powerful it really is.
Yeah, I only asked simply because I mean, I'm exactly the same there.
Yeah,
Like I've been weight training like coming up to 13 years, and
yeah.
I knew even as a kid I was like, if I don't train, I I'm not good. So I'm like, I need to train to get all this like anger out, and then also like just deal with like shit that's going on situationally and mentally and stuff. So like, I just need to train. So I just train all day, which I mean has its benefits and negatives, but it is what
Yes.
it is. That's my story. Um, but I only ask because the deeper you have conversations with people, right, and the the more you kind of progress and get through the fluff.
Yes.
When people turn around and be like, "Oh, I either went through this acute thing in my life that sent them a little bit west mentally, or they've always struggled, or they've experienced it, right, so they can empathize with it. They are
Mm,
now, when they come out of it, are critical thinkers, and they
yeah.
can see things from a different light. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to go through that, and then you can see the world in like a different light. So then
Yeah.
that can only ever become a positive outcome. So the whole
Mm,
situation can only ever be positive. So
yeah.
I find it really interesting. I'm like, I wonder if, I'm sure some neuroscientists will be able to figure this out. I wonder if those times actually alter some chemical balances, so then you
Chemical.
can see it in a different way. But I think it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, like it might be a fucking awful time at that very stage, but write
Mm,
down those emotions. Hence why I've made a book and onto the
yes.
second and all that type of stuff. You write down all those things and you're like, wow, like I now have a different perception on life, and that perception is actually very educational. To when things and alter again, I can go back and read it and be like, wow, I'm learning from myself, simply because it's like you're putting
Yeah.
on a lens or a glasses, and you're kind of seeing the same thing but just in a different light. That's why I ask. I'm all about
Yeah.
those deep chats.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally. And like you say, it's so more powerful when you've kind of, yeah, been through that and can relate. And
Mm.
so many people are going through those struggles, and helping them really see like what the tools are that can help them. Like we all know that nutrition and exercise is great, but like, yeah, really just seeing how powerful it can be.
Mm. And you can also
Mm.
like you see it in someone's eyes, right? As soon as they come in, or even on Zoom or whatever, you like take a look into someone's eyes. You're like, okay, I know exactly what I need to know. Don't worry about it. Like I got you.
Exactly. That's it. Like, and oh yeah, you so can. Like as soon as I chat with an initial client, I'm like, it's written all over them. Like the energy, just like everything. You're like, oh wow, let's help you.
Mm.
You could be a different person.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just like step by step, and gradually getting there, earn the trust, blah 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 blah. Go through the
Yeah.
stage, do your thing.
Mm,
Mate, I really appreciate your time.
cool. Yeah,
Thank
it
you
was
very much.
fun. Thanks.
Maybe we'll throw down next time I'm up in the mount.
Yeah. Do you ever come up here?
So I traveled around. I lived in Auckland for like 4 months, and then I got fired twice. So I kind of just was like, you know what? Don't judge me.
What did you get fired for? How do you get fired?
See,
I'm not judging. Would never judge.
As you can tell, like I'm foreign, right? I'm not Kiwi, so my accent is a little bit funny. But I'm also a guy that will tell you straight, and I'll stand up for what's right, regardless, even if I'm the only one who's standing. And it's just in a couple of different institutes, there's a couple of different things that I didn't agree with, and I want to have a polite conversation, and be like, hey, like, what's your side? Because this is my side, and I don't necessarily agree with it. And people don't like that, especially in this country with your beautiful tall poppy syndrome. So usually just tell me to get fucked. So I'm like, okay, cool. Appreciate your time, and onwards. Anyway, like, it kind of just sparked. I was like, you know what, fuck this. And like lived in my car for like a week and just drove around the country. So I've been there a couple of times. Really, really enjoy it. It's definitely a place I'd want to like live for a little bit, you know what I mean, spend some time, like actually live that lifestyle, because it's a bit different, especially different to Christchurch. But like down here is absolutely wicked. Like I can literally see the sea and the mountains at the same time. Like that blows my mind.
Yeah. That's really cool.
But yeah, maybe
it's cold there though.
Nah, give over. See, like I'm used to cold.
Yeah.
Like freezing cold.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Here's like what cold's like 4 degrees, and I'm like, come on.
Oh, that's so cold. Oh my god. So you're like barely here.
Yeah, but you live on the beach.
I know. Not complaining.
But yeah, hopefully I've kind of mentally made a post-it note where it's just like, yeah, over summer, like we're finishing up a charity event in Memorial Day, so Remembrance Day, sorry, 11th of November. So kind of after that, around Christmas time, I just want to like fuck off again and just like live on a beach. So I'll be dicking around somewhere.
Yeah, we'll come out. It will be, lots of lifting areas. So.
Yeah, definitely not doing any CrossFit, but I'll throw a bar above my head.
Fair enough.
All right. Thank you, mate. Appreciate your time. If anyone wants to work with Feel Great coaching, not just good,
cool.
Feel Great.
So just look us up on Facebook, so Feel Great Coaching, or on Instagram, Feel Great Coaching, or just add me on Facebook, Jane Louise.
Sick.
Get in touch. And actually, we've got a free nutrition community if anyone is interested in joining. So it's the Feel Great Nutrition Community. So jump in there, share lots of live trainings to help you be the best version of yourself. Whatever that looks like.
And I'll stick the link on whenever this goes up as well, cool. Too. Awesome. All right, mate. Cool, thank you very much.
See ya.
Take it easy. Have a good day.
See ya.